Welcome back to Top 5.
In the heart of a decaying city, where the shadows lurked like hungry beasts, a storm brewed. Thunder rumbled ominously as Edward Cullen, the centuries-old vampire with a soul burdened by his past, stood in a desolate alleyway, his golden eyes reflecting the flickering streetlights. Opposite him, Blade, the half-human, half-vampire hybrid, stood with his signature weapons at the ready, a fierce determination etched across his face. They were both legends in their own right, but their paths had now crossed for one final confrontation. The artifact that had drawn them both here was said to hold the power to control the vampire race, a relic that Edward wished to protect and Blade sought to destroy. Their conflicting ideologies had escalated into a deadly showdown that would leave no room for mercy. As the wind howled through the alley, Blade took a step forward, his dual swords gleaming under the pale moonlight. "This ends tonight, Cullen," he growled, his voice low and menacing. "You and your kind have had your chance. I won't let you threaten humanity any longer." Edward's expression hardened, his resolve solidifying. "You're blinded by hate, Blade. Not all of us are monsters. I'm here to protect the balance." With a snarl, Blade lunged, his blade slicing through the air with lethal intent. Edward reacted instantly, dodging the first strike and retaliating with a swift kick. The force sent Blade stumbling back, but he quickly regained his footing, his eyes burning with fury. "Stop holding back!" Blade shouted, his voice echoing through the alley. "I know you're stronger than this." Edward's calm demeanor cracked. "I don't want to hurt you." Blade scoffed, his expression twisted with contempt. "Then you're already dead." The two combatants clashed in a furious ballet of violence. Blade's training and experience were formidable, each swing of his sword precise and deadly. Edward matched his ferocity with his supernatural speed, dodging and weaving, but as the fight escalated, it became clear that this was a battle to the death. Blade pressed the attack, his relentless strikes pushing Edward to his limits. With every swing, he aimed to land a blow that would end the vampire's existence once and for all. Edward, despite his agility, felt the weight of his adversary's rage. He needed to end this quickly, or he would be the one who fell. In a moment of desperation, Edward feigned a retreat, baiting Blade into a reckless charge. Blade, driven by anger, lunged forward, but Edward pivoted, using his momentum to spin and deliver a powerful roundhouse kick that sent Blade crashing against the brick wall of the alley. The impact rattled the structure, but Blade quickly rolled to his feet, undeterred. "You think you can take me down that easily?" Blade snarled, wiping blood from the corner of his mouth. "I'm not done yet." With a primal roar, Blade launched himself at Edward, who prepared for the onslaught. They collided once more, exchanging blows that echoed through the night. Edward's punches were fast, but Blade's strikes were fueled by pure vengeance. Each hit was more brutal than the last, and soon the alley was stained with the remnants of their battle. Edward's vision blurred as Blade landed a vicious blow to his side, knocking the wind from him. He stumbled back, gasping for breath. Blade seized the opportunity, rushing forward with a series of relentless strikes. But Edward, driven by instinct and desperation, summoned every ounce of strength he had left. With a sudden burst of energy, Edward dodged Blade's next strike, grabbing one of his swords and twisting it from his grip. The weapon fell to the ground, clattering against the pavement. In a fierce maneuver, Edward tackled Blade, pinning him to the ground. Breathing heavily, Edward raised the sword, its razor edge glinting menacingly in the dim light. "This ends now, Blade," he said, his voice steady but filled with an underlying sadness. Blade, eyes blazing with defiance, spat back, "You think you can win by playing the hero? You're just as much a monster as I am." Without hesitation, Edward plunged the sword down, a swift and decisive motion. The blade pierced through Blade's chest, a look of shock washing over his face. For a moment, time stood still as Blade's body convulsed, the life draining from him. As Edward withdrew the sword, Blade gasped for breath, a mixture of disbelief and fury in his eyes. You think this is the end?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. "You'll regret this." Edward stood over him, the weight of victory heavy on his shoulders. "I won't let your hatred consume me," he replied, his voice tinged with sorrow. "Rest now, Blade." With one final exhale, Blade's eyes dimmed, and his body lay still. The storm above erupted in a flash of lightning, illuminating the scene for just a moment, a victor standing alone in the aftermath of battle, a reminder of the cost of their conflict. Edward Cullen had emerged as the sole survivor, but the victory felt hollow. The darkness of their fight lingered in the air, a testament to the brutality of their world. As he turned away, the weight of his actions settled heavily upon him. He had won, but at what cost? The lines between monster and hero had blurred, leaving only the echoes of a fight that would haunt him for eternity.